The most effective way to remove heavy metals from your body is to drink the Medical Medium Heavy Metal Detox Smoothie on a daily basis. But let's face it, some of the key ingredients in this smoothie can be quite pricey. In this video, I will share with you how you can save hundreds of dollars without compromising the recipe. I have made a resource sheet for you with links to all the medical medium information about the heavy metal detox smoothie. In this information, you will also find the recipe for the heavy metal detox smoothie and the measurements if you like to scale back a bit. Before we dive into the saving tips, let's make sure everybody knows the recipe. The Medical Medium Heavy Metal Detox Smoothie is 2 bananas, 2 cups of frozen wild blueberries, 1 teaspoon of barley grass juice powder, 1 teaspoon of spirulina, 1 tablespoon of Atlantic Dulse, 1 cup of fresh cilantro, and 1 orange juice. You just throw everything in your blender and you blend it up to a nice smoothie. I know it's almost black, but it actually tastes really nice. Anthony, Medical Medium, recommends to drink the smoothie on a daily basis to pull out all of these heavy metals from your body. The most important thing is to measure your ingredients. If you make the smoothie on a daily basis, even small adjustment really counts. It might come as a surprise for you, but remember to change the spoon in the barley grass juice powder and the spirulina, so the spoon is actually 26% larger than the amount you need for the smoothie. There's a line around the spoon that shows where to fill the spoon, but because the spoon is a cylinder, it's almost impossible to fill it less than till the top. So if you're using the spoon that comes with the barley grass juice powder and the spirulina, you're actually spending 26% more powder each day. Now you might be thinking, but it's tiny. How can this make a difference? Don't worry, I made the math for you. On the back of the container of barley grass juice powder, it says that it contains about 62 servings. But the problem is that the spoon is actually bigger than a teaspoon. If you fill the spoon to the brim, you won't get 62 servings out of this. You will only get 46 servings. And over time, this means that instead of lasting almost 9 weeks, this will only last for 6.5 weeks. And on a yearly basis, this means that instead of buying nearly 6 of these, you need to buy 8. So you can save more than 2 of these on a year. And with the cost of $52 for one container, this is actually more than $100 you can save by changing the spoon. The same goes for spirulina. It's the same spoon and it's 26% too big. So instead of lasting almost 12 weeks, this will only last 9 weeks. And on a yearly basis, this means that instead of buying a little more than 4 of these, you need to buy 6 of these. And it adds up to 1.5 containers a year. And with the price of $33, this is about $50 you can save by changing the spoon to the right size. The same goes if you're using a regular spoon or a teaspoon to measure up the ingredients. This might also cost you money in the long run because it's imprecise. So go ahead and find the right size of spoon for these powders and it will save you a lot of money. When you're using the measurement tools, like a cup measurement, a spoon, or a teaspoon, make sure it's not with a top on it because this won't be accurate enough and you will use too much. So make sure that the surface is straight on the top and not with the top on it. So you only use the exact measurement. You can do this by banging the spoon lightly to the side of the container. This way it will straighten out. If the ingredients is in a bag, like the dolls sometimes is, you can drag it to the side of the bag. This way it will also be straight on the top. If you have found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up so the information can spread to more people. And while we're on it, measurement really counts when we're talking heavy metal detox smoothie. So do yourself a favor and measure up your frozen blueberries, your orange juice, your dulse, and your spirulina, and your barley grass juice powder, and even your cilantro. The next tip I have for you is how you blend it. If you just run the smoothie program, all of the blender will get messy inside, and some of the smoothie will go to the sewer instead of going to the body, and that's a waste. This is how I do it. I begin by adding the orange juice, so it only covers the blender knife, because I know this is exactly how much my blender needs to make this blend run. It's going to be a really thick base, but a really thick base won't get splattered all over. So I can actually keep it in the bottom where the smoothie is running. I put all of the powders in the middle of the blender. I sort of make a small hole and I put it in there to make sure that it won't stuck to the side of the blender, because when it does that, it's quite difficult to get off. I turn on the smoothie program, and when I can see the blender is sucking down the rest of the ingredients, this is where it's gonna turn up the speed and splatter all over inside the container. I actually turn off the program and blend it manually. I start out on a 2, and then I slowly increase it to 6 or 7. On this speed, it won't be as effective as a 10. So I let it run for 1 or 2 minutes. That's what my blender needs to get the doubles chopped up. This way I can keep the smoothie on the bottom, so I will only miss some of the container. Now you might be wondering, what about the rest of the liquid? It comes now. So I pour out the smoothie in my glass. Please make sure your glass is big enough, because you will also waste some smoothie if it's just stuck to the side of more glasses. Then I take the rest of the liquid and I pour it into the blender container, and I swish it around with my hand to loosen up the rest of the smoothie in the bottom of the blender jar. And what's left is only a little bit of the smoothie in the blender jar. And I think this is a great way. Of course, now you got the smoothie, and on the top there's a really liquid smoothie, and the other part is thick. So I take a long spoon and I just mix it up. And of course, I have the spoon, nothing get wasted, and then it's ready to drink. If you blend and it gets splattered all around the blender jar, having a scraper like this is really essential. It's perfect to scrape down the sides of the blender because it has this perfect shapes, so it can go into all the corners and angles. And it's also shaped so you can scrape around the blades in the bottom of the blender. With this tool, you can get almost everything out of the blender. So I really encourage you to get one. It's a bit expensive, but in the long run, it can save so much money because actually you can get everything out of your blender. I will put a link in the description if you would like one of these. The Medical Medium Heavy Metal Detox Smoothie have 5 key ingredients. There's the barley grass juice powder, the spirulina, the dulse, the frozen wild blueberries, and the cilantro. These key ingredients works together and pull out the heavy metals from your body. But did you know that you can still cleanse the body from heavy metals with only 3 or 4 of the key ingredients? Of course, it won't be as effective as if you had all the 5 ingredients, but it will still work. So if you're on a tight budget, or some of the ingredients are out of stock or out of season and it's very expensive, this might be a way to scale down for a period and still cleanse your body. Remember, to do some or a little is always better than to do nothing. So if you have to scale back for a period, don't bang yourself in the head. This is much better than not doing the smoothie at all. And do remember that orange juice and bananas are not key ingredients. So sometimes organic oranges are really expensive here in Denmark, and I just go for water and a squeeze of lemon. The squeeze of lemon is only for the taste, because it can taste not so good when you leave out the orange. But that's a tip too. If you want to save money while traveling and still be able to keep up with your medical medium lifestyle, make sure to watch this video next, where I share how you can stay in a villa with garden, a fully equipped kitchen, and a car, and only pay the plane ticket. Make sure to watch it. Make sure to watch it next.